if you're a fat or an overweight person who is a complete beginner at the gym, or even an intermediate person in the gym and is looking to get into really good shape, then here are my top 3 mistakes that you should avoid doing if you really want to see serious results. So the first mistake that you should avoid doing is you should avoid bulking. Yes, you may build the muscle along that process. However, you're still going to have fat stored within you, or even you may store a bit more fat within you as a result of that. And remember, if your the number one priority from being overweight, in my opinion, is the losing fat. Not to say that you shouldn't, not to say that body muscle is not important. But however, you should first prioritize losing some of that fat that you have within you until you reach maybe around 20%, let's say, body fat. And then once you get to that stage of 20% body fat, then you can start prioritizing building muscle more, but not in a bulking phase. You're still not going to be bulking once you reach at that 20% body fat stage. But however, you should focus on focus on getting stronger and strength training within that process. And the second mistake that you should avoid doing is the second mistake that I see people doing is, and this is a very common one, is in today's age, is not having a good diet and not even eating enough protein. You overconsume processed foods every single day, and you wonder why you don't see results. And you don't really consume enough protein as well. Yes, weightlifting, if assuming that you are training till failure, will stimulate muscle growth. Yes, training to failure will stimulate muscle growth. But if you do not consume enough protein for the muscle to be repaired, then how do you expect yourself to build muscle? How do you expect yourself to build muscle if you don't provide your body with enough protein for it to synthesize and for muscle repair? Yeah. So instead of having a rubbish diet, you should focus on 90% of the things that you eat should come from whole foods, such as your fruits, vegetables, lean meats, fish, eggs, chicken, all of that stuff. And the final mistake that you should avoid doing is not tracking your progress, such as your weight, your calories, progress photos as well. Yeah, you should 100% focus on tracking your calories, especially if you're someone, because remember, you do not want to be bulking, as I said before, if you're someone who wants to get into really, really good shape and has just started being a fat person. You should, instead of bulking, you should either focus on cutting or even building muscle and losing fat at the same time, known as body recomposition. But if you do not track your calories, then how do you expect to know if you're in an actual calorie deficit? Because obviously, we know for a fact that if you're someone that wants to lose body fat, then you have to be in a calorie deficit, especially on a cut. Either if you're in a cut or someone that's in a body recomposition. And you should be tracking your weight every single day as well, so you can get your average weekly body weight, and then you can compare it week by week to see if you're losing weight week by week. And yeah, these are my top three. I'd say my top three mistakes that you should avoid doing if you're someone that's currently in that stage. As this was take it from my experience as well, as I was someone who is over 30% body fat, and I was dirty bulk. As soon as I started going to the gym, I was dirty bulking, and then that led me into the wrong path. And then since I didn't even see any results when that happened. So yeah, to summarize, the top three mistakes that I did, which you shouldn't do, is number one, dirty bulking, or even bulking in general. Number two, having a rubbish diet and not even eating enough protein. Number three, you're not tracking your progress, such as your calories, your weight, even progress photos as well. Yeah, so here's my top three mistakes. What you should focus on if you're someone who's overweight and wants to lose that fat and get into really, really good shape is one of two things. You should either focus on cutting until you reach, let's say, around 18 to 20% body fat. And then once you reach that stage, you should do a body recomposition afterwards, since you do not want to be losing muscle within the process as well. The reason why I would say cutting is a safe thing to do from until you reach about 20 to 18% body fat is because it's because your body has a lot of fat that needs to be lost. Your body has a lot of fat to lose, which is why cutting can be a safe option. Or other than that, you can do a body recomposition. You can start off by doing a body recomposition, depending on your preference. Yeah, so you should either focus on cutting until you reach 18 to 20% body fat, and then do a body recomposition afterwards. Once you reach that 18 to 20% body fat, until you become to that lean body fat percentage, which is around 10 to 12% body fat, around that. Or you can just scrap that and you can just do a body recomposition. You can just start off with a body recomposition, so that you can build muscle and lose fat at the same time, if done correctly, assuming you do it correctly. Yeah. And see you in the next video.